Everyone is wearing a blanket or a jacket. Step out of the house. A girl asks home. Everyone has electricity. 01. The young mother holding her baby in her hands anxiously
If
said,
there is
no water, it is cut off. Hot water mixed with milk for the baby also no. Then she coaxed her child. A man wipes his glasses and says, the weather is so cold. The air conditioner is completely unusable. There's no way to use a heater. How to go through next? People are talking to each other. At this time, the SAO above does not step out of control. If you keep going like this, I'm afraid of freezing. How long does this snow last? Air conditioning cannot be used. It's minus 30 degrees in the room. There's not much food in our house anymore. The closed snow couldn't come. The supermarket has no other way. The police don't care much right now. That floss their teeth and say, times like this, the authorities certainly can't wait. Then you come to two big yellow chests. Control something. Look at the ceiling and talk. After all, it is morality. The whole place is filled with shadows. Night and snow. Only where Zhang Yi is there is light. Mrs. Lin wrapped herself and me with her feet. I am confused to say no. Maybe it was good a few days ago, but then it suddenly came back. She got the message from the neighborhood committee chat group. The content of the message is, I heard about this global snowstorm. It's very likely snowier. We only met once in 100,000 years. Say not. We will welcome a great genocide. The creature is also the end. Where we have over 1 billion people. It basically can't be taken care of. Some key cities in the country, it's all fallen apart. Next want to live. We can only rely on ourselves. Must hoard a lot of supplies, especially food and heating energy. She read the message and was right. Need supplies. Even though those people don't know this news, have to find them. My granddaughter raised her face and asked her. It's like this outside. When are your parents? She turned to reassure the boy that the tiger. No wonder, in a while, my parents will be back. She thought in her heart that they must be well protected. My 2 granddaughters must have survived. She sent a message to everyone in the neighborhood. The accident is only temporary. The weather outside is too cold. Water cutting problem. The power cut has been repaired. The media has announced, in normal times, People's Committee, we will proceed, unified management of small business zones. If you don't coordinate, there are serious consequences. After this, we'll ask the police to make an arrest, to interrogate someone who read a strange message and asked, this is so serious SAO. What's going on outside now? I promised I was in bed. I saw the message you threw the phone aside. Close your eyes and say, the police are tired of borrowing. In the main ceiling room right now, each of his brothers has a blanket, sitting shivering 7 on the floor. The man sitting in the chair read the message. Angry that this old man took chicken feathers as a parole. Don't solve the problem and give orders here. His face is as red as a shrimp. Tell him proudly, proudly. We can't go out now either. There's no antipyretic to fend off so far. The angry man turned to scold. It's still because you're useless. He did not beat that young man to death. On the contrary, it is captured. They're playing video games. I received a message from Mrs. Lin. Zhang Yi found it strange to pick it up. Mrs. Lam wrote that, due to this blizzard, it has a huge impact on people's lives. According to the official announcement, this snow will remain for a short period of time. For letting everyone through the hard door together. Starting from now on, the neighborhood committee will collect 10 items per household, then proceed to uniform distribution. When he finished reading, he laughed and said, it's the way before. Just exited the chat. Then messages from Mrs. Lin Kia kept being sent to her. He opened his mouth and wondered. For a moment, there was no trap aimed at me. Before and after Mrs. Lin pounced on Ms. Zhang. You work on the normal warehouse side. There's definitely some food and drink in the house. Right? I remember the last time you bought 3 big cars. Face color sagging. He was upset that his previous life was. She tricked people into delivering supplies. I had the kindness to give some. They finally brought the wolf into the house. Mrs. Lam continued the message. Now everyone's in trouble. It's time for you to step up. Don't wait for this snow to pass. We will definitely give it back to you. People will remember your kindness. She seemed to be messaging too enthusiastically. He laughed contemptuously and said, that's good, Uncle Lam. If you get the supplies, remember to share some. Thought in my heart. The reason I was killed in a previous life. You can't escape the system. Mrs. Lin said furiously. Who is this kid fooling? Normally when doing warehouse work, you've taken a lot of discounted items. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff in the house. She turned to look at the tiger. He rubbed the boy's head and calmed himself. I have to calm down. Can't give up. I just need to be able to get this fish. Then, my 2 granddaughters will get a lot of supplies. At least we can hold out for another week. Then she picked up the phone in a flattering voice. Little Zhang said. Everyone knows you're the warehouse manager at the supermarket. How could your family be lacking food and drink? This time the organization's order. You must obey you. Dedication to everyone. People and organizations will remember your service. Take care of all the food in the house. Open to everyone. I floss my teeth and answer. My grandmother really didn't lie to me. I ate all the food in my house. Earlier this year, the landlord doesn't have any more food. Or you. Give me a few packets of shrimp noodles first to make it work. Open to everyone. Mrs. Lin seemed to have lost her patience. Angry and yelled at Zhang Yi. I can't talk to you right now. Right? I'm representing the organization now. You refuse to deliver your supplies. It's against the organization. I'll definitely deal with you after this. I heard that with a scornful smile. And she said to the old woman, representing the organization, he's just a member of the neighborhood committee. Let's not talk about officials. Grandma to the paycheck. Not yet. You teased Mrs. Lamb. It's normal to be self-righteous. Now you're really delusional about yourself. I have the courage to show that I am at home waiting for you. Mrs. Lin was too angry at Zhang Yi. She said nothing but turned off the phone, then throw the phone and yell out loud. The obnoxious thing. There is no way to teach you. For better or worse, I am the leader of a small town. A thought flashed through her mind. Put your hands on your head and sweat. And ask yourself to let people in the subdistrict put pressure on it. And then you can't think otherwise. If everyone learned to follow him. It's very troublesome to refuse to deliver raw supplies. The emergency fools the AI or the people. It's getting dark. I just picked up 8 smelly hot noodles. I just watched Mrs. Lin's house. People are bringing supplies to her. You say, some people see money as rubbish. Deliver her things quickly. Then he held up 8 noodles and smoked them and thought. The most common in the family. It can only last 4 days. Plus the low heat will wear out very quickly. But they volunteered. Biting has nothing to do with me. He looked out at the snowy air outside. Then confirm yourself. The outside is in chaos. There are new materials that can live. Otherwise, you can only wait to die. Mrs. Lamb's cell phone. There's a message from the neighborhood committee. One person wrote that 1,502 lamb xian habao lamb. I told you that when you get the materials, you will divide them evenly. Everything in my house has been eaten. It's been 2 days. Let me get some. Someone else texted more. That's right. I said divide it so everyone has food to eat. Mrs. Lin wrapped the blanket with her nephew, and sit in a chair, say a low voice. A bunch of idiots. These are all my food. Laugh and continue. You have to work hard to trick her. I can let you get it back. The phone on Mrs. Lamb's desk rang. Your grandson said quickly. Granny, the phone. She looked at the phone and asked. Those idiots are only now aware. Then she picked up the phone and watched in horror. Because I see someone who calls me Chen. She was worried about what he was looking for her for. Lam Xianhua started to worry to enter the earphones. The truth began to make fun of Mrs. Lin. You're also very talented. Take everyone's supplies into your hands. Mrs. Lam, give me 2 and answer as if you are a good person. He's a member of the neighborhood committee. It's my responsibility to manage everyone's supplies. Chen was proud to hear that, and she complained to Lam, haha. That's good. Now our house is short of supplies. Please bring the supplies to my house. Mrs. Lam refused and replied. But I need to deal with this material statistically. And some people haven't delivered supplies yet. It has not been divided yet. Her tiger grandson chewed his mouth. Take a bite of the cake and listen to it all. The ceiling of the moat shouted angrily. Granny, don't give nose without. You've made those things your own. Right? Next to the righteous ceiling are now the juniors. We can fight at any time. He proudly continued to talk to me. Let me know if you will deliver your goods to me. Or I and 10 of my family. I will go to your house myself. The names. I had a cold shower before. Now I have regained my spirit. Now they're no different than demons. They are thirsty for blood. The ceiling spoke very quickly. And also act very quickly. Not long after, he dragged a flood of blood to Mrs. Lin's room. Open the door and enter the forest. Springha felt afraid to scream not to enter. You are breaking in illegally. She straight forward to her. He slapped her in the face with his hand. And she said she cheated on the neighbor's supplies. You are changing the world. Expand eating translation. Sausage and watching Mrs. Lamb's house. You said ISOs already started biting each other. And then suddenly he snapped because he'd just come up with an idea. Or send this image to the apartment group chat. Let everyone see it. He laughed happily and stroked something and said. The reaction of the Kia people is certainly very unique. At this time Mrs. Lin collapsed because of the painful slap. Chen's men also entered the house with weapons. Chen proudly pointed out her hand and immediately ordered 6 controls for me. All the food and drink in this room. Take it all away. These are all things that the neighbors struggle with. Hard work accumulated. I can't let her take the word. Mrs. Lin, even though her face was still bruised, trying to reach Chen's feet. Hugging and insisting. You can't get your stuff. There's also food that our family stores. You take it all. How did my nephew and I live? She looked down coldly at the woman. Then unpleasantly said, what the hell does this have to do with you? His hands are still clinging to his feet. She wept and begged. Give us a way to live. Please. I don't feel sorry for this old woman. On the contrary, I feel hate. Kick her off with your feet and scold her for leaving me. Mrs. Lin collapsed to the floor, her face covered in wounds. Tigress face pale meter. Stupid man looking at his grandmother. Just been tortured. He took a small knife, a hateful face, and shouted. You thugs, get out of here. I just said you. He just stabbed a blonde in the ass. Carrying supplies out. He's shaking his whole body, face sweating, eyes rolling out. Then he came back with tears in his eyes. One hand holds the ass, the other hand trembled tightly. You want to die, right? And then he goes to the tiger rock, and it's really strong. Then raise your voice. Now I will be perfect for you. He fell down a very hard one. The rest of them looked and joked. Since when did the 5-year-old practice this beautiful leg kick? The bald head says more. That's a good way to kick this kid. Bald guy patted the blonde on the shoulder. Put the knife behind your back. I want to say Wukong. RA should have told you to film this scene. Mrs. Lin came next to her nephew who was lying unconscious. She used her trembling hands to touch the boy, then sobbing said, "Little tiger granddaughter of Mrs. Chen, I am proud to see this scene." Then turned to the side and spray one. Then he said, "Worth it. From old to young, it's not a good thing." Then he and his men brought supplies. Put the stick on your shoulder and say, "Here it is. That's the price you paid for stealing my neighbor's supplies. It's just changing the religion." The police recorded Lam's meeting. Shanha and Tran proud. When bounced and sent to the group, a person texted back, "Ha ha ha, deserved scam." Kainan also praised the name Tran proud Kia. Like a hero. Message me proudly. Dealing with people like this, we should use strong measures like this. I read the message and saw that. These people, completely unaware of the root of the problem. Another person praised the Honorable Kia that, without you proud, then we have no way to deal with the unscrupulous, a loser like her. There are also people who care about the cold-blooded Kia. Proud. Be careful with this nasty old lady. Be a little careful. She called the police to report you. He looked down on his face seriously. Today he can break into Mrs. Lam's house to rob her. Sooner or later there will be a day. He broke into your house. After that, you get your usual face back. Put your hands to both sides and say too. It has nothing to do with me. Suddenly Mrs. Lam sent a message to the group begging everyone that the AI has a blood thinner, antibiotics and anti-infective drugs. My nephew was beaten by a naked moat. Dr. Chow did the surgery. We need these emergency drugs. I was quite surprised and wondered, is this Dr. Chow Kaini? Maybe she wants to do tiger surgery. Chow Kaini is a girl, has long purple hair and pink eyes. It looks very attractive. I sent a message to the group that I've temporarily stopped Lam's wounds. The tiger is bleeding, but emergency treatment doesn't last very long. If there are many drugs, anyone who's sick can come to me. Zhang Yi sat down to read the message smiling and pondering. She's a doctor at the People's Hospital. Top in Tianhai City. Previous life. It's thanks to medicine that saved a lot of lives. They are also considered a few good people in these neighborhoods. Lam Shanha message to the tiger group. My family needs medicine to save my life. Head with everyone. When he saw it, he laughed. How did she hit her head? Put your head in the SAO group chat. He sent a picture of a smiling face. Others also sarcastically messaged Mrs. Lam that Dr. Chow was saved by her nephew. It's because people are honest. Where do we have to help you? Based on you tricking people's supplies SAO. Salvation is love. It is a duty not to save without moral constraints. Her nephew was beaten up in retribution. The translator read the entire message. You shake your head in confusion. Normal people are so cold. But today because of the forest. Tiger again in the group chat apartment. It's the same salary as the mother. You also wonder that. How about studying the boy there? The blizzard is still. The outside was paralyzed. Basically don't persist for long. Some people on the first floor of the apartment. Looking outside, seeing the weather is so unbearable. What to do now? The snow is about to cover the first floor. Someone in the house is pale. Lips trembling and screaming. The news says, this is the biggest snowstorm in 100,000 years. How it's going to turn out in the end. The snowstorm began to pass. The whole world was buried in a snowstorm this week. Even some cities in the north. The temperature dropped to less than 100 degrees. The snow does not fall, but it goes up for days. So many cities are buried. People who haven't been able to evacuate. They were also buried under the snow. In group chat apartment, Mrs. Lam still has a disability. They continue to deceive people. She told me I'm an officer of the neighborhood committee. Get your supplies out here. If you do not deliver, it is a blatant violation of the law. Everything will be dealt with after this. Deliver supplies. You see death without saving SAO. Tiger hasn't eaten in a long time. Please everyone save it. He's still just a kid. Does anyone have food? My nephew and I haven't eaten in 2 days. I can buy supplies at high prices. A girl who seems to feel sorry for Mrs. Lin. She texted me back. I still have a few packets of shrimp noodles in my house. I can sell it to you if I need to. But for 1,000 yuan I pay 2,000 yuan. How much is in your house? I bought the whole thing. I was eating chicken legs when I read the message. You look good. He said, oh, there's something more interesting is about to happen. The people in the apartment read the message. People's eyes lit up and asked in a kind of surprise. I didn't read it wrong for a pack of 2,000 renminbi shrimp noodles. People are messaging. Hey, don't yell at the price of supplies like that. I'm a little scared. Some other people have the question that don't joke. You really think the world is coming to an end? Not through. It's just a little heavy snow. This winter came a little earlier. It's not a zombie siege. It's not worth it. Disdainful campaigners say zombies surround the city. Take such a low thing to compare with the end. Ice this time. It's naive. From standing up to resting. The outside air recorded that. Don't you manage so much? Generally speaking, I have money. Can you spend money to buy peace of mind? If you agree to sell, private message me. Then go somewhere else. He looked down at the phone and thought. The city's traffic and equipment are down. Very bad situation. While money can still be used, You have to quickly buy the supplies, poverty in the hands. When a girl texts you back, you can do this. My whole family doesn't have a piece of food. To buy food to save lives proudly grinned and replied. I didn't steal it from you. I'm just paying a little bit more. People agree to sell AI as their freedom. She can manage SAO. The girl is worried right now. One hand holding you, one hand texting. She begged everyone to help us. My daughter is 9 months old. If I don't eat, there's no milk. Both of us will starve to death. I saw the Kia message. Laugh and think. Single mother carrying her 9-month-old daughter. Ask for help. Once someone agrees, will definitely be bitten tight stitch for release. To be a scammer but still very strange. Your face is a little serious. Remember that. She and her daughter have lived for a long time. Tomorrow's tears are not as simple as they seem. 10 days after Truong was lifting weights, the phone has a call. Sending and wondering. Calculate the time. I'm sure everyone's food has been eaten by now. This green tea, I finally can't help myself anymore. You pick up the phone, point the camera towards the attractive items behind the back. Sarcastically speaking. Why did you video call again? Show me you're all thinner. Congratulations. On the other side there are 2 people who love dance and their saliva flowed softly. The same thought is. And he has so much food. 2 girls staring at the screen. The ocean asked Truong Yep loudly. Why does your family have so much food? Was it a hoard last time? She also asked Han where he was so warm. I even wiped my sweat. Listen to the translation and answer. You said these are all junk food. When I'm lazy to cook, I eat normally. Don't bother to touch. Then he held up the phone to the burning fire. His face looked uncomfortable. He continued, my house has a heating wall. It's very warm in the room, it's unbearably hot. Phuong Vu loved big eyes round and clear. You take the phone. Flatter and suggest that you are so good at preparing the whole thing. Dance is very graceful. Can you show me at your house? Your words make your face glow. Frozen and full of confusion, striptease on video call laughing out loud. We haven't seen each other in a long time. The dance misses you. Let me eat the cake first. To stabilize this long-term diet, and then we'll talk. Unbearable epidemic. To back up the phone screen a little bit. It's cold outside. You should stay home and rest. Truong is disgusted. I'm sure there's a problem with your head. If not, how can you be persistent in pursuing this kind of girl? 2 years in a row. I don't know how cold it is outside, though. But look at the 2 of you. The temperature must be very low. The dance sounds like it's being teased. Don't be too violent. We are hungry and cold. If you don't help. But also say our wind shadow. Laugh ironically. The new skin AI can't pretend anymore. If there is a benefit, go to the door. I can't believe you're looking for rich people to do that. You can do your homework, but don't see me as an idiot. Shut up your mouth. Expand translation. They don't care about their words. On the contrary, more provocative. I'm not just telling the truth. Or why are you so excited? We don't like it. Based on what I have to help. On the phone, the angry rebuke of the dancer. You son of a bitch. The movement without hesitation. Just hang up the phone. The angry dancer threw the phone aside. You deserve to die, what the hell are you? The next door is not comforting. Pour more oil into the fire, not even, because before, the dancer won't hold him tight. If not, they can enjoy it now. The things in Zhang Yi's house. Then she took her phone. Finger pressed the button to call Truong Yi. Now he's much stronger than these rich guys. When is it time to pretend to be tall? It's been exposed now, right? It's a rare thing to do. Dance like a fad of animals screaming lamb tine in. You son of a bitch. After a while, they fell out of bed. Continues to argue over and over again. At the same time at Zhang Yi's house, I'm still leisurely eating dinner and drinking. CTI6 News about the official announcement of Tianhai City. Because to satisfy everyone's electricity needs, every afternoon there will be a power cut from 1 to 2 hours. For large capacity electrical equipment, it will not be used. They can only heat up electrical devices with small power, like a supercharger, phone and so on. Now the big power stations is in the period of suspension of operation. Electricity is lacking. I hope everyone can save electricity to avoid the occurrence of large-scale power outages. For a long time, take a sip of red wine. And then with TRA, take the tablet and put it on the table. The extent of damage caused by the last natural disaster. I can't hide it anymore. He opened a residential group chat. People are talking all the time. Have you seen the news? We've started a full power cut. All the online rumors are true. This is the time. What are the outsiders doing? My house, even the water pipe is frozen. There's still shrimp noodles in my house. Can anyone take 5,000 yuan a pack? Sigh a depressed hour. I know the world is in trouble. Things like currency. It's almost no use during this time. But also take life-saving supplies to exchange. Outdoor rain, snow, storm. The days go by and carry hope. But no one wants to die. Even if you have to live temporarily, you have to bite your teeth and live on. There's a grandmother who's taking care of a sick grandchild. Tiger, don't sleep. When you're gone, you have to tell your parents. There is a clinic. It's a female doctor taking care of the sick, holding the legs of the Kia patient. In exchange for the necessary supplies. Like that, you can persist for a while. Dance with Lamtine in. I've been living in a relatively shabby environment lately. The living situation is not very good. I can't shower for a long time. Two people sitting with their backs to each other. There seems to be some friction from the previous day. Lamtine in spoke up. What are you going to do now? The world suffers from blizzards. Nobody can get out either. Now outside the translation. And who can look forward to it? Think for a moment and then offer an opinion. If not, always solve the epidemic. Then he took his room. She picked up the phone and dialed Cho Chow's number. It's not enough just to rely on the two of us. But we can't let too many people know.